Okay, so moving on again, the next thing we did. All right, so now we've done on page stuff, we've done cart stuff, we've done speed test stuff under the hood kind of things in the code, and now we're like, okay, we've got all these things working. Now we want to be able to buy more traffic and extract more profit. So the next thing we got to focus on is average order value. What can we do to boost the average order value? So the goals here were to get each customer to add more items to their cart, which was hard for us because we didn't have very many products, or buy bundles, which we bundled the few products we had together to create more product SKUs and also increase the chance of them buying something that was more expensive. Okay.
So essentially, we've already done all the things that we could do to get more people to buy. Uh, we felt like um, the last big piece would be obviously you can only control about three things. One is how often they come to your site, how much they spend, and then the amount that they spend. So what we wanted to do is get them to spend more every time they visited because obviously that's more money in our pocket. And if you're still paying the same amount to get them to your site, if they spend more, your profit margin goes up exponentially. That's another area that a lot of people don't realize that it's one of those hidden things. You can do like 10% more sales, but actually be 50% more profitable uh, because you're once you get past your break even, if you get them to spend more, um, that more portion, a lot more of it, you get to keep. So you're much more profitable, and that's why we focused on um, this as the next step of the process.
So as you can see here, guys, we started out with our first 30 days of control at about a $36.97 average order value. By the end of the 63 days, we were at 43.43, and now we are at about 50 bucks. So it's continuing to climb because we are continuing to dial it in, right? So here's what we did. Here's the actual pretty number. So you can see again that we were at 36.97. It wound up at 43.43, and our sales conversions went from 1.75 to 3.29. Again, we're just showing you these in graphical representation and like very easy on the eyes because it helps it sink in as to how much a marginal increase can actually boost and how quickly it can happen. I mean, 60 days is not a long time. All right, so this is a huge, huge, huge difference. So the increase in the average cart size, we created bundles for the site so that it filled it out more. I explained that on the product pages that we didn't have very many products, so we started creating bundles to try to increase people's purchase price as well as make it look like we had more products so our store looked fuller and not so dead. So we need to and this is where Matt says, the site needs to look mature in order for them to trust you. One of the things that's a big bounce reason for people is when they go to a site and they only see one product or two products and the site looks like a graveyard. So the number of selections creates perception of a more robust store.
So I'll take over this side right here. So for us, yeah, this is actually another thing that we literally came across by accident. It was by using Hotjar again. We started looking at the heat maps, and if you go to your store and you click on variants, we literally like if we were selling like in the beginning, I used to sell T-shirts, and so the platforms took care of it. I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. We didn't have like different colors or sizes or whatever of this kitchen slicer. To us, the variant in my thinking, flawed as it was, uh, had no bearing on our store. So I didn't do anything with it. When we saw the heat map, we saw that literally 30, I think it was 32%, 33% of the visitors were literally clicking on the variant
Had
button
nothing in it.
and we had nothing there for them to buy. So
So
in the way that I work, I was like, oh, well, if they're going to click there, we might as well give them something to see. And so what we did in our variant tab is we just offered them multiples. So instead of being able to buy one slicer, they could buy two or they could buy three. And I think we stopped at three. So we gave them two more choices. And literally the same day, we started selling instead of selling one slicer to people, we started selling twos and threes, which obviously added to our cart size.
so the thing here, guys, is by default, in almost every single Shopify theme out there, if you add a product, even if it has no variant, it's the variant drop down still shows up on the page, which is dumb. Like literally the variant should disappear if you don't have any variants. I mean, that's just common sense, but it doesn't. Okay? So, and honestly, we didn't even consider it. We didn't until we saw the heat map. So, it's already there. So, even if you don't have variants like size or color or things like that, through the bundles in there, through the multiples. Okay, and it started working because they're used to seeing it. If something's on the site and it looks like a drop down, a buyer who's interested is going to click on everything. So it's going to get in their way. So if nothing happens there, it's kind of a confusion point and also something of kind of a negative.
Yeah, and it wasn't like 10%. It wasn't 1 in 10. It was 1 in 3. So it was a major portion of our traffic was clicking on it, saw nothing. So they just continued through the process. I don't think it made them leave the page, but what they did was they would just end up buying one. And so now literally a third of our traffic got to see an offer now to be able to buy 2 or 3. And if they buy 2 or 3, it's way more profitable for us to reduce it and ship them 2 because we only had to pay for the one customer to come see it. So the more stuff that they add to their cart, in order to sell 2 slicers, if our average conversion rate, we'd spend about $28. But if we have one customer that buys 2, we only spent $14, but yet they bought 2 slicers. So we can reduce that $14. I think we only dropped $4 off the price of the slicer. So now we're actually getting $10 more profit for that customer rather than having to pay 14 for the next one to come along. Right, I can talk about this too. So we were using a different upsell app, and for us, literally this one made such a big difference that we thought we would throw it in there because it actually affected our average order value quite a bit. I don't want to say what the other one was that we were using because I don't even actually remember the exact name of it. But a couple times it locked up, and literally our store quit selling because the upsell app like froze the cart. This particular one has worked flawless ever since we used it, and I've actually we talked about it with Phil, who sent a bunch of you guys to this particular webinar, and he uses it too. And we're getting close to the point where we're going to show you why we like this upsell app so much, because you can change the language in your offer, and now I would say over the last 30, 40 days, it's actually even got better because now you can put more rules into the app so that based on what's in your cart, it decides what shows.
Guys, on these themes, okay, and on these upsell apps, so specifically with Shopify, okay, there are tons of apps because the App Store is where they make all their money and where all the developers want to make all their money by charging you ridiculous fees for the apps, okay? We have to live with that too. The reality here, though, is that most of these apps are built by developers or they're built from people off Odesk or whatever else. They're not marketers. They're people who've never really owned a store. They're people who don't know anything about conversion rates or upsell funnels. And because of that, most of this stuff sucks. Okay, it really actually can. We've tested some that actually lowered our conversions on our regular sales. Okay, so we add an upsell app hoping that it's going to help us sell more additional products, and instead it actually lowers our front end conversion. Okay, so that happens. There's a lot of those out there, all right? So the reality is we've tested, I can't even, probably a dozen of these things or more, and we continuously do. We're always looking for something better. And the problem is, again, there's no true one-click upsell within the Shopify checkout. So there are tools that take it outside of the checkout, but that's a whole other can of worms. Inside the checkout, this is the best of the bunch. And honestly, I don't even think they have an affiliate program, and we don't get a dime for telling you this. It just works. Okay.
Several of them that we tried, they're very clunky, or they like pop up over top of what the customer's doing. This one literally, like, it lays the. If we go back to, could you go backwards till we get to some of those slides, Tanner? I don't know how far it is, but you'll literally see it lays it in. It's very congruent. Yeah, right there. So that one right there where it says 47% of our customers add these 3 additional storage items, that is the upsell. So, and that pops in after they get to it. It looks like it's part of the page. It literally, it's not annoying. What's that? Yeah, yeah, and it's rule based. So if you look right here, um, it's offering three containers. It's not offering them another slicer because at this point we've already gave them that option in the variants. We want them now to say, oh, okay, well maybe they hadn't looked at the product bundle, but here they can add slicers. It's very congruent, and it's not obtrusive. Is the word I would use? Yeah. So it's been I would say by far it's added more to our order value than anything else that we've done other than the language that we're going to give you here in a matter of a couple of minutes. I say it because what we did was it was all um, based on watching what the consumers were doing with our store.
Data driven.
With
Data.
yeah, and it was data driven. Thanks, Tanner. We literally through this process, I was learning just like a normal person would. This is the first Shopify store that I've ever been a part of, and so all this stuff came through testing. And the way that we did it, some of the things that we did, I actually take it back. Some of the things we did didn't work, like the trust button. But other than that, I would say the majority of everything that we did worked, and it was because we watched what the customer did, we would think about it, we would talk about it, figure out what we thought we could do to solve that problem, and when we did it, like each time it made our conversions jump. So we weren't just like randomly picking things to go after. We were literally looking at what the customer was doing and then using that as our um, a measure to figure out what we would do to next in order to fix the store.